Erev Shabbos, and this is a story that my daughter likes, so I'll just share it with you. It's one of the Gedolei Ador. It talks about Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. He was the Gadol Ador, meaning that all halachic questions, all issues that the other lower, I don't want to say low rabbis, some rabbis couldn't answer, they would go goes up the chain until it would come to him, and he would make the final decision as far as what to do with it. So they tell a story that, as he was getting more and more famous, he used to answer his phone whenever people called. He was answering his phone for 20 some odd years. He would answer his phone whenever people called for the question, and he would help them out and answer them. Then after about 20 some years, it got too difficult. He had what's called a shamish to help him answer the phone and more or less to screen the calls. So the first Friday that the shamish is on the thing, a lady calls up and she's like, okay, he's like, okay, what's your question? So she's like, yeah, I want to know what time is Licht, which is what time is candle lighting for that Friday night. So, he looks it up, and he comes back and he's like, okay, Licht is 4:27. And then he sort of, he insinuates in in a polite way, like, more or less like you have to call the Gadol Hador, to ask, you could just call anybody, like in a very polite way. So she answers him, I've been calling for over 20 years. I never had a problem beforehand. No one ever said anything. So that means when Moshe finds him, besides answering all the hardest, the most difficult, the most challenging questions from around the world, he was able to answer the simple questions, and he made the woman feel good and important for her question, and no indication whatsoever ever that it was any sort of imposition on him. And these are the things that we have to learn from our Gedolim, that no matter what the question is, no matter how simple or things like that, you value the person's question. And we spoke before how it's so important that Miriam asked Padya for does she want her to find her a nurse, somebody to nurse her baby, the importance of going and asking questions. And we should recognize that whenever people do ask questions, to make them feel good and beneficial and pleasant, and in the merit of us working with the patients, Hashem should also, whenever we have questions and things like that, Hashem should give us clarity and patience and bracha and shalom. Have a good Shabbos.